Hey, everybody, welcome to our third episode of what's called currently the Geeky Cool vlog. That name probably is changing. We'll talk about that here in a moment. I'm Larry, also known as the Professor, and this over here,
You're pointing. I'm AJ, also known as Ace.
Ace. All right, Ace, how's it going? How's it going
Good.
tonight? Good.
I am exhausted, and I have done very little this week, but it's emotional exhaustion. It's all
Well,
good.
it is really exhausting out there. I mean, I've noticed that also. There's a lot kind of sucking your life force. I mean, even for those of you that are more um, loving being at home, it kind of will drain on you and cause you to just be exhausted. Just
Yeah, yeah. It's
so.
a, it's a mental thing. Here's the thing. I'm okay with staying at home. I'm a
Mhm.
homebody. I'm okay with that. It's the whole thing that you cannot go
Right.
now. It's the whole
Don't
thing.
tell me I can't do it.
It's the whole thing. Like I spent years being like a stay-at-home mom without a car,
Hmm.
but now I have a car and I don't have kids most of the time. I have my stepdaughter every other week, but most of the time I don't have kids, and it's like now I have to say that's not the deal.
I'm with you. Yeah, and of course, I'm more of an extrovert than you are, so I like people. Now, I do after a day at the office at the full time job thing. I do like to come home and just be at home. I've
Right.
become a lot more of a homebody, but I like the ability to go out and see people, ability to go get coffee or go check out a band or whatever. But I didn't want us to spend all of our time talking about
No,
the chronopocalypse this week. We've done that enough.
that's right. Everybody's done it enough. I mean, like I understand,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
I've been
it's
trying.
kind of what's going on, but still.
I've been
Um,
trying to write things that's not necessarily about them. I
and
know.
we appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, we've been, I don't know if you've been reading GeekyKOOL.com, cool with a K, of course. You will know that we have been writing some top 10 lists. I actually was working on one yesterday afternoon, kind of in my head, and then I got sidetracked with some other things that happened in life. So, but I've got one coming up that where I'm going to talk about the top 10 D list superheroes.
Oh, see, I love
So,
the D list.
yeah, I
Yeah,
do too. I find those guys awesome. Their powers may not be a whole lot or that cool, but I love the humor that's usually with those.
okay, so what my favorite
Yeah,
X Men, my two favorite X Men are not top X Men, and they're ones that one has barely made it into a movie, but her powers have made it into a movie with via another character. And then the other one was supposed to get a movie, but he didn't because things happen. But my favorite two X Men are Jubilee and Gambit.
hmm
So I
mine's
love
Kitty Pride, but
yeah, but I love the ones that aren't necessarily mainstream.
no, I'm with you. These are guys that are even further down than them, though.
Oh
These
yeah,
are these are their guys that are only in groups of heroes that are not really well respected, and also other ones. So I'm looking forward to presenting that. I'm still trying to make my list of what the top 10 are there because there's a lot of those out there to choose from Legion of
that
Substitute superheroes
yeah.
um, to the Great Lake Avengers to some individual characters. Even I've got one independent character on my list and one character that is like from a third level comic book company. So I've got some characters, but I'm still working on my list. But yeah,
Thing is with these lists, and I know everybody's like, "Oh, you throw these lists together," and I'm like, "No, you have no idea how hard it is to
oh
like
yeah,
things down to 10." And then also like, okay, so I just did the sci-fi. You did it too. Like our
hmm
favorite sci-fi TV
that was
shows. Now
hard.
I didn't count fantasy. So like Xena and Hercules, which I love, did not go on the list.
Right,
I didn't count
right.
like supernatural stuff. Charmed, but I was just going pure more sci-fi, science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But even getting that down to 10 was
Oh,
hard.
yeah. Well, I looked at your list and I loved every show on your list.
Right.
But I wasn't sure they were all going to make my list, and most of them, a lot of them didn't. And the ones that did were in a little different order, and that's okay. That's the great thing about lists is this is our perspective, but it gives us something fun to talk about. And because you had Doctor Who at number 1, I had Firefly at number 1.
Okay, so my top 4 are all interchangeable depending on my mood. So that's the other thing is like if you ask me, I love Doctor Who. You know, I'm wearing my Doctor Who dress. I love Doctor Who. He is, because of how many there are and stuff, like you can find something everybody loves about at least one of the doctors, except my boyfriend who. Did you read that his like black thing is that he does not like that? That almost was a deal breaker.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I respect it. It's his opinion and everything, but yeah, no. So it's really hard though to like narrow it down because sometimes Quantum Leap is like my favorite depending on my mood, and so yeah, top 10 lists are difficult, and I know we're going to talk about some of our favorites, and so I'm just going to try to talk about my current, like the ones that are in my head right now as my favorite. So they might change a little bit. And
well, sure.
Like, but you were, and I'm like, so.
It's flexible there. Yeah. I get that. I completely understand that because sometimes it's a matter of, I start thinking about something more or start watching something more or check a rerun of something and go, man, I forgot how much I love this. And you get sucked back in like, oh, where do I rank this? Or how do I view this? And that's really hard because there's so much really cool stuff. We're lucky compared to growing up in the 70s and the 80s. There wasn't a whole lot to choose from. I mean, especially television shows, Battlestar Galactica, which I included on my list. You had what?
It almost made mine.
Yeah.
Oh,
the original or the new?
There were 5 of them that I was like, they really should be on the list, but I like these currently more. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, so they are difficult, but we're going to talk about some of our favorite, and they don't have to necessarily be our favorite, but just some of our favorite things because we want to lighten up the mood and talk about what we love passion-wise as geeks. So what we're into. So let's start. What's your favorite geeky show right now? Or what's your top 5 or however you want to, what are some of your favorite, let's say that, what are some of your top favorite shows?
Let's see. Geeky shows right now, like TV shows?
Like TV shows or streaming shows, either way.
Okay. So, yeah, streaming shows will be a little bit easier. I love Stranger Things.
Me too. Hands down, my favorite show right now. I love watching that show. It, again, didn't make the list because it's more supernatural horror aspect along with the sci-fi. So for both of us, because it would be top of my list otherwise.
Right. So ones that are currently still running and not in reruns because it's different. I would say, Stranger Things is pretty high up there. It's one of my favorites. I like it because 1, it throws back to the 80s, which I'm all about. 2, I love supernatural stuff. If you know anything about me, like I'm a gypsy at heart. And when I say that, I'm not being derogatory. My family were Irish travelers. So I'm a gypsy at heart.
Right.
And, and I love supernatural and I love fairies and fantasy and stuff. And this kind of gives you a supernatural with a twist. And I like that.
Right. Well, to me, it's the cast is awesome. To me, it's basically taking Stephen King and Steven Spielberg, mashing them together and telling this amazing story.
Right. Have you ever played Dread?
I don't think so.
It's like D&D, but instead of rolling dice, you have a Jenga set up.
Oh.
And every time your character needs to do something that could potentially be deadly or make a decision that the DM, that would have been me, decides is deadly or potentially harmful, they have to pull a Jenga thing out, and if it collapses, then they are removed from the game or they die.
Oh,
and I did one
ouch.
which was a crossover. Yeah, I did one that was a crossover between it and Stranger Things, and I wrote my own story.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
You know, I love stuff like that where you can write your own stories. Fan fiction gets a bad rep, but fan fiction's awesome. I don't know where people come from, because is there bad fan fiction? Is there taking fan fiction in a very provocative way? Yes, you can do that, but there's so much really cool fan fiction. I've read some Star Wars fan fiction stuff that I'm like, dude, why didn't you make this into a movie? And I'm not hating on the movies. I know a lot of people hate the new movies. It's really funny. The same people that hate the new movies hated the prequels, but seemed to tolerate the prequels. Now the new movies came out. I don't understand, but
yeah, I didn't hate. There's not been a Star Wars movie I was like, oh, I absolutely hate this. There are things that I hate about a lot of Star Wars movies.
Right.
I've never left a theater going, this was terrible.
No, I'm with you.
And I will admit, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Don't
okay.
like, but I mean, I'm not a fan. I've seen all the movies.
Right.
I've seen the Clone Wars, all of that stuff. I'm just, and I'm just not a huge Star Wars fan. So
that's okay. That's the great thing about Geeks, is we're allowed to do that. Now, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars basically, my father collected comic books, so that got me started in my geeky process, because he was already reading and kind of demonstrating and buying me comics. And then Star Wars hit, and that basically pressed my love for sci-fi and fantasy right to the max. So,
well, I think for a lot of people, like, I think that's what made Star Trek and Star Wars. And I know there's the Trekkies versus the Star Wars fans. I am a fan of both. So
yeah, me too.
Sorry. But I know Star Trek and Star Wars kind of just propelled all that for our generation.
It did. So yeah. So no, I'm with you. So Stranger Things. What else are you really digging right now?
So let's see. I'm trying to think of things that. Oh, Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
I've heard great things. I've not watched it yet. Yeah.
It's way dark. It is way dark. But I like dark stuff. I like creepy stuff. I mean, Stranger Things is on there. Some days Sabrina's above Stranger Things for me. They have 3 seasons. Kieran plays Sabrina. A lot of people know her from Sally from Mad Men. She plays Sabrina, and she does a great job. And it's not your Melissa Joan Hart Sabrina, so don't go into it.
It's not Archie Comics. It's not Sabrina from the 90s sitcom.
No, it's The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So there's craft, there's Satanism, there's darkness, there's it's all kinds of stuff. They go into theology a lot and everything, but it's really well acted. This like the special effects are okay. Like, it's a TV show. They're not horrible. And no, I really like it. So
well, I've not seen that. I really enjoy some of those things. So I'm looking forward to it. Some things I have to kind of moderate when I watch because of my 11-year-old who just turned 11 yesterday. Shout out to my son Logan. So yes, named with the name of Wolverine and Logan's Run. Yes, I did get away with one. My daughter's name is Natasha. I got away with that also. Yeah.
You got away with both of them, Professor.
Yeah, I kind of did. Shh, don't tell anybody. So, yeah. So I've not watched Sabrina yet, but I do want to watch that. I know on your list and on almost made my list was Mandalorian, which I'm really digging. I really love The Mandalorian.
It did make mine. I absolutely love it. What I like about it is the fact that the Mandalorian, you never see his face, which is very difficult if you think about acting.
Right.
It's like why I like The Shape of Water, the movie The Shape of Water, because Ellie acts beautifully without actually speaking.
Right.
Which is a little easier because you see your face, you see facial expressions. The Mandalorian is awesome because, one, I feel like it is more along the lines of the original Star Wars. Like, I feel like it's filmed in a way that reminds me of that. And
I agree.
I love that you can feel his emotions and never see his face. I think that is amazing. So,
a sign of a good actor that can express themselves in other ways other than seeing their face. So, being a former theater geek.
Yeah. A lot of them in it. Like, there's a lot of people who you never see their face or you barely see their face. And it's very good. And of course, the child is just adorable.
Right.
I know he calls it the Baby Yoda. It's not Baby Yoda.
No, because Yoda's already dead. And
exactly. But the child is adorable. But I actually, it did hook me. The child hooked me. I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw the preview, I was like, oh, cute. And then I watched it, and yes, the child is adorable. But I like the story of the Mandalorian. So I'm watching with it because of that. So,
have you seen the animated series Rebels, the Star Wars series Rebels?
Rebels, yes. Not all of it. But yeah, I've seen some of
it. I don't know if you have Disney Plus, but it is streaming on Disney Plus. The character of Sabine, who is also a Mandalorian. I love her character. It's really interesting because the way she acts is very different than this Mandalorian. But when you come to find out, a lot of his is a religious sect along with being a nationality, then that makes a lot of sense. You're like, oh, wow, that actually makes a world of difference and makes total sense to me why there's such vast differences there.
And his character was taken as a child.
Right.
So he's adopted into this sect. He's adopted into this nationality, this family of Mandalorians. So he's still considered an outsider a lot. And so I feel like that's a little bit different.
Right.
So yeah. But the Mandalorian is really good. I like it a lot.
No, I'm with you. I really dug that. That almost made my list. I had several things also on my list that I took off that I just kept trying to figure out where things were going to fit. And then looking back and trying to figure out of all times, what were the most important shows? What do I love the most? And boy, that is tough. But Mandalorian's great. Did you watch Lost in Space on Netflix, the new series?
What? Sorry, you broke up.
Lost in Space, the new Lost in Space series on Netflix.
I have not been watching it yet. Should I?
So there's 2 seasons. I would recommend it. It's up on my list pretty high. I got my son watching it. He really got into it. So I appreciated that. But some very moving characters, well-written stories. It's one of those where it kind of reminds me of how the new Battlestar Galactica took the basis of the original and did its own thing. This is very similar. It's not the problem with a lot of things that you take the original is you either make it too goofy or you try to make it to something else. And this has a good balance of we're going to build upon this, but we're going to scrap some of this part and we're going to tell our own story. And it's actually done super well. I really recommend that on Netflix. They're going to have one more season and it's going to be done, but it's super well done for television, Netflix. I love that I can go in and pick stuff up in Hulu and Amazon and Netflix and Disney Plus and just start watching something and see if I get pulled into it or not. There's so much good stuff out there.
Netflix is notorious for 3 seasons and done.
You're right.
It's totally Santa Clarita Diet. Like, I love that.
It's
funny. Did you ever
that was great. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And left it on a cliffhanger. And I was like, no, you can't not discuss what happens now.
Right.
But yeah, left it. And
I hate that.
I do too. Some of my favorite shows, though, are like 1 season.
Right.
And it didn't necessarily make my list because, like, I wanted to find things that I will watch over and over again. And if there's things that are 1 season, I find that I don't watch it over and over again because it's so limited. But there's certain movies or TV shows that I really like that just don't make the list. But yeah.
That's kind of funny because I included several different ones that were like one and done seasons. Space Above and Beyond. I don't know if you saw that back in the 90s when it was on the Space Marine show. I loved that. That show just captivated me. And it ended on a cliffhanger. And of course, Fox canceled it because, well, it was Fox. So
yeah. I feel like Fox canceled everything but Married with Children back then.
Yeah, everything good. Anything that made more than one season, you were lucky. But the interesting thing is they took chances in some really cool stuff. Briscoe County Jr., an amazing show. I consider it more of a Western, so I didn't include that on my list. I mean, there's just one thing after another. And I really hate that we got teased for April Fool's Day on the Briscoe County Jr.
So Scallywag lives with me, and he's like, "Did you see this?" And then he was like researching it. He's like, "It's not true." And I was like, "That is not funny. Like that was."
Come on, Bruce. Don't be a jerk, buddy. But my other thought was, if that goes out there and it had a huge following, Twitter, it got retweeted. People wrote articles about it. You have to think that people are going, maybe that's a possibility. I mean, because Disney owns the rights to Fox. Disney could say, it's not going to cost us that much to make. And if Bruce Campbell wants to come back and do it, and it has this kind of following, we could put 6 episodes out. And if it flops, what are we out? We got Bruce Campbell to come in and do a show. So
right. And the thing about it is Disney, they watch. Like, people don't understand how much they watch.
Oh yeah.
Social people who just do that. They watch everything. That from Etsy to Facebook to Twitter and all of that stuff. And they have people who just analyze all of that. That's why, like with the child, like the whole people were making their own the child products off of Etsy that were handmade stuff, but boy, Disney was like, nope, we own this character. You cannot do that. So if you think about it like that, Disney is watching everything they possibly own. Every possibly make them money.
Well,
so
right.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm hoping, but yeah.
Probably not. Can't get my hopes up too high. No.
So
you're an optimist. I am not.
Well, I am. I like to look at the glass half full. I don't. I just typically.
And I'm like, yeah, no. It's bad because I'm not necessarily pessimist. I'm just like middle of the road realist mixed with pessimism. Like, nope, it's not gonna happen. But then I get pleasantly surprised, which is good. So, who knows? So
it looks like Shelly has said hi to us. Hi, Shelly. Thank you for watching. And we got 3 viewers right now, and you guys can definitely watch the show. It will be on YouTube. It's on Facebook Live. We're doing live both right away from there. And we will be putting this on GeekyKOOL and putting that out there. But Shelly, thank you for saying hi. We appreciate you doing that so much. You're awesome, girl.
Shelly, I love you so much. You're so wonderful.
She says it better than I do. Yes. So.
But yeah. So we talked about geeky TV shows.
Yeah.
What about movies? Like, what are your favorite movies that would be considered geeky?
Oh.
That's hard because it incorporates so many genres.
Right. No, I agreed. Well, now, and historically, if you're looking historically, I've got 3 that are always at my top 3.
Okay.
The Princess Bride.
Okay.
I just love The Princess Bride. It's so cool. It's so many quotable lines. It's just essence of geekiness.
My favorite from Princess Bride is Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, Miracle Max.
I loved him so.
Miracle Max was great.
Yeah.
Him and what was her name? I'm trying to think of it. It's not Madeline Kahn. It's the other one.
Carol.
Yes, Carol Kane. Yes, Carol Kane. Those two together were amazing.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So
I love them. No, that's one of my favorites. That's like, so like my favorite movie of all time is not a geeky movie. My favorite movie of all time is The Breakfast Club.
Oh, good movie.
Just, yeah. But Princess Bride is always in my top 10.
Yeah.
You know, it fluctuates, but it's always in my top 10. Like, if you're like, hey, let's watch The Princess Bride, I'm never turning that down.
Well, me too. Exactly. Also on my list is 1989 Batman. My favorite Batman movie still. So I love Michael Keaton in that. And Jack Nicholson. That movie is just, I will sit down and watch that every time it's on. And my other one is the original Star Wars movie. And I call it Star Wars because that's what it was called when it came out. It wasn't called The New Hope at that time. New Hope got put in to differentiate for other movies. But and Empire Strikes Back is right there with it. And so is Return of the Jedi, that whole trilogy. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. Oh my gosh, I can sit and watch that, especially the expanded edition. So that's like 12 hours to watch 3 movies, but I'll do it. So.
Right. Well, I'm like that with, because I like fantasy a little bit more. So, like, I love The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Love the Rings. But I love the Hobbit movie more.
Really?
I did. But I'll tell you why. When I was younger, The Lord of the Rings, when I was very little, I read a lot when I was young, and I read way more advanced than I probably should have. My kid too, like Dakota, he's 25 now. That's my baby. He read The Hobbit in kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah. One of those books that introduced like fantasy to me as a child. And so when they did the movie, and I know Peter Jackson did, like, it was like, you know, characters that didn't exist in the book were in the movie. Plots that were completely movie driven, not necessarily in the book, but it reminded me of why I fell in love with fantasy.
Oh yeah.
Because it reminded me of the book. I also like the animated.
Yeah.
From the 70s.
Yeah, I'm with you.
79?
It was something like that. That was my first introduction to The Hobbit was the animated movie. And then I watched the Lord of the Rings and Return of the King movies and was a little confused by them, but they were still cool. So, yeah.
No, and so, but because of that, because of my love of fantasy and like reading them, I think that's why those tend to be like that. The Harry Potter series, because I had kids.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter series wasn't when I was a kid. I'm not that young. But
they
were when my kids were little. Yeah, and so my kids read them. And then, like, the movies always came out around November 17th every year. My son's birthday is November 17th. So every year for his birthday, that was his birthday.
That's awesome.
We would go see the Harry Potter movie. And so that brings me back to, like, you know, that I also love J.K. Rowling's world. Like her world. I love the Fantastic Beasts and all that. And I feel like her and, you know, I don't know what it is with like initials, like authors with initials instead of first names, but they do really well.
They do. I agree.
I don't know if it's a prerequisite or what, but they do. But yeah, so where yours is Star Wars, mine would be like The Hobbit. If somebody's gonna watch like a trilogy type of thing, it's gonna be The Hobbit. Just because I love that so much.
Shelley did respond to us, and we've got another comment also. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. I apologize. Is it Jean?
Jay. Hi, Jay.
Jay. Hey, Jay. Sorry, I didn't know how to pronounce your name. I'll know it next time. We appreciate you watching, Jay. Thank you. Thank you for checking us out. So, Ace, with fantasy being a big thing for you, were like some of the 80s more crazy fantasy movies like Kroll or even Conan, or was that too much kind of that part, or were those good for you also?
I love them. Conan I loved just because I was shocked my parents let me watch it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not even lying. My mom would let us watch horror movies. Like, she loved horror movies. Like, she's a Stephen King fan, so I watched Cujo like way early. But there were certain movies that I wasn't allowed to watch. But yeah, Conan I loved. There was a movie, and this is gonna sound cheesy, and it is a cheesy movie. And if you like, oh yeah, you should watch Conan, Jay. If you haven't seen this movie, give it a watch. It's fun. It doesn't take itself serious. It is in the line of Conan, but it's called The Barbarian Brothers.
Have you seen that movie? Yeah.
With the twins. Yeah, and it's like, I love that movie. I remember watching and going in and renting that movie. Like, we would rent it, we would rent Dirty Dancing, and we would rent Casual Sex. And I was like 13 years old. My mom let me watch Casual Sex. She watched it first and realized there's not actually any sex in it.
Yeah,
so they just talk about it a little
bit. It wasn't like watching Fast Times.
What?
It wasn't like watching Fast Times.
Yeah, no. See, the Fast Times have way more in it than the movie Casual Sex. But no, the Barbarian Brothers, I love. I actually, for my 40th birthday, I did a few years ago, I did an 80s movie party where we did 80s movies and everybody dressed up as their favorite 80s movie character. I was, of course, the basket case because it's me and I'm the basket case. But one of the gifts I got from a tattoo artist here in town, he's amazing. But Jason got me the Barbarian Brothers, and it's a disc with another movie on it, and it's called The Norseman, and it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Worst movie I've ever seen. Listen, halfway through the movie, my best friend and I stopped we muted it, and we read the reviews for it. The reviews were funnier than the movie.
Have you ever seen Vikings? Oh, Eric the Viking. That's what Eric the Viking. Have you ever seen Eric the Viking?
No, I don't
think
so.
So that's it's a British humor, like where they're trying to sail to Asgard sort of thing. Very humorous. So it's kind of wacky. It reminds me a lot of crud. What's the name of the movie with the short people and the kid gets sucked into going on this adventure?
Short people get sucked into going on an adventure.
Yeah, sailing. Oh God, it's a cult classic, and I'm totally losing it. So, anyway,
if anybody knows what it is,
Time Bandits. Shelley knows it. There you go. That's what I'm trying to think of. I'm just too old to remember this stuff. But Time Bandits. It reminds me of Eric the Viking. Reminds me of Time Bandits. It's just that same line of humor.
I'm gonna have to look that up, Professor.
Never Ending Story.
What's your favorite? Oh, I love the Never Ending Story.
Me too.
I cried so much when the horse died.
No doubt, right? You get sucked in. You're like, what in the world? Well, and then of course, when Stranger Things sing the Never Ending Story song, that was great. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Oh my God. Let's see. Some of our so we talked about some of our older favorites. What are some of your what are some movies that have come out lately that you really loved? Like within the last 5 years?
Basically, I don't know if there's anything that has just jumped out at me other than what I expected to. The Marvel movies are always on my top of my list. I love those Marvel movies, even the ones that may not be super awesome. I tell you what, my favorite Marvel movie, Captain America, not Civil War, Captain America, Winter Soldier. It's just such a different, it's an action spy buddy movie, which I love.
Right. Plus, it doesn't fits into the universe and the thing, but at the same time, it's a standalone, like completely.
Right.
I loved so. Okay, so if we're talking Marvel, I'm gonna have to go with Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah. It was great.
When Wonder Woman is my number one DC movie ever, but it's just because I've wanted that movie for so long. So yeah, Shelley, I agree with Wonder Woman. But Tom Holland as Spider-Man is everything my little girl heart thought Spider-Man, Peter Parker was going to be.
Right.
So the thing is, and I almost did an article, and I should probably still do this article because I did a series of For the Love of Spider-Man. But one of the ones I wanted to talk about was who portrayed Spider-Man the best and why I thought. And but I so Tobey did a good job as Spider-Man. I didn't like him as Peter Parker.
See, I'm the other way. I liked him much better as Peter Parker than I did Spider-Man.
I just think he acts better with the mask on.
Sure.
Okay. I think Andrew Garfield did a good job, but I think it shouldn't have been an origin story. They should have made him the older Spider-Man.
Right.
They should have made him college-age Spider-Man. But Tom Holland, he is just like, and he is way too young for me, but he is my dream Spider-Man. Even to the fact that when they do interviews, he has to have somebody with him because he will just tell them everything.
That's true.
Tom Holland is amazing, and I loved Into the Spider-Verse as a cartoon. Like,
that was awesome.
I loved that one. That's one of my favorite geeky movies that has come out.
That's great. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm with you 100%. As a big Spider-Man fan myself, look at my shirt. I believe Tom Holland nailed it. He pulled off that perfect Peter Parker and Spider-Man both, and especially the early Spider-Man. I find it just amazing. I guess that could almost be a rim shot there. But no, I think Tom Holland was fantastic in that movie and in the next one. The other one, I loved how they brought in Mysterio. I thought that was great. I'm really looking forward to the next one. Tom Holland to me is like a perfect Spider-Man. So I'm with you 100%. Love that movie. Wonder Woman also. We had talked about Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman was amazing. Shazam I thought was just tons of fun, and Aquaman I had a good time at too.
Aquaman I enjoyed. I love Aquaman. I agree that Andrew was a better Spider-Man than Tobey. I'm just not a big fan of Tobey Maguire. I know that sounds like people are like, oh my God, but I'm just not. I don't enjoy his acting as much. But yeah, Andrew was a better Spider-Man. And then Tom Holland came on and he's like Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And they're actually two different characters.
Right.
Very much. Like, they're not. They have that awkwardness and stuff. So what are your thoughts on the Wonder Woman sequel? I'm excited and I'm nervous about the Wonder Woman sequel. To be honest with you, I had for so many years, I wanted a Wonder Woman movie, not the Linda Carter TV show, which I actually like. But I wanted Wonder Woman have her own moment, and she had it.
She did.
And I don't care what you say about the movie, I was at the movie theater with my son and his best friend, Callie, and when Wonder Woman walked through the field and the bullets were just coming at her, I cried. And not because I'm a feminist. I am a feminist. I'm more of a humanist. But because that is my dream moment for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And so I love Gal as Wonder Woman, but I fear DC has a hit or miss thing. More misses than hits, and that's terrible because their comics are so good, but their movies aren't. It's so I'm really worried about it. I don't want them to ruin it.
As an optimist, I've looked at it and said they have not messed with the director. We don't have a new director. We are keeping, characters are the same. I don't know how we're bringing back Steve. I don't know, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
As long as you explain it some way. I mean, I buy into all sorts of comic book stuff in the comic books. So characters die, they always come back. It's just the way things are. So I'm okay with that. But
I'm not. I love the part at the end of Wonder Woman. And I love the whole story with like the Justice League and stuff. I didn't want them to bring Steve back because I felt like it pushed her character so much.
Right.
And yes, I'm a girl who loves a good romance. Like, give me a romance. I'm really mushy. Like, you guys have no idea how like actual mushy romantic I am and what I love. But I also know that heartache, especially in comics or superheroes and stuff, drive characters. So bringing him back, I'm worried about that too.
I'm wondering if it's not really him, if it's something else, or if there's just a temporary time thing. I don't know. I'm thinking to actually make Batman versus Superman and Justice League work, you have to have that. Now, if you're throwing those movies out or whatever, then you can do that. But I definitely.
You can't bring him back and have the end of that movie work.
Right.
The original. You can't, like, unless it's not him or unless it's something like that. You can't. I'm sorry, because that's the whole point of her character, is that he gave up what he gave up for her, and she gave up everything for the world.
Right.
And because she now doesn't, like, yes, she has the world and she is protecting the world, but she's doing that. The driving power is because he showed her how to do that.
Right.
He showed her how to, like, give up everything for love.
Right.
And if you bring him back, I feel like it messes with her timeline a little bit in this universe, and I feel like it messes with her character arc in the other movies. So I don't know. This is why I'm stressed about the Wonder Woman.
Now, to comment, I love it that it's set in the 80s also. I'm completely with you. It's set at the 80s. I love the 80s. I listen to 80s music. I have people tell me I'm stuck in the 80s. I'm okay with that. I like my new technology just fine, so I don't want to give that up. But the rest of the 80s, I'm pretty cool with. So
I just want to see Wonder Woman, like, gal, getting down with some girls just want to have fun. I'm just throwing that out there.
Now, could you
throw that out there? Like,
have her show up in a Harley Quinn movie?
Different timeline. I know, and that's the thing, Shelley. It could be a different timeline. The other issue I have is Steve is the same age.
So it makes me think time travel or something.
Right.
Or maybe he was frozen in the ocean. He was flying the plane over the ocean and he got frozen in the. Oh, hold it. That's somebody else. Hold on.
Yeah, that's not him.
That's not him.
I mean, they could play. That's the other part about it that worries me, and I'm hoping that they're, like, this sounds bad, but I'm hoping it's some ploy of the bad guy.
Right.
To an emotional reaction out of her, and it's not actually Steve, because one, Steve would be old.
Right.
And God love her, she would love an old Steve. She would. But they don't have him as old Steve. They have him as, like,
just like Captain America loves Peggy even when she's old. Exactly.
And so if they would have done it and it was old Steve, then I would be like, okay, he survived the crash. He didn't know who he was, like, whatever they want to do. But having him be young Steve in the 80s, I'm just hoping it's some kind of, it explains it more than just, here's the love of her life, so we're going to throw him in there.
Like our comment here, like a Mysterio idea. So yeah, something like that, most definitely.
Yeah,
So
I think that will play it off well, and I would not be upset with that. But I'm really worried. They did such a good job with the first one that I actually have hope for the second one. But I also know that DC sometimes falls short when it comes to when they have success. They don't tend to like push that success forward as much as they should. I think you see the preview placed. See, that's what I'm hoping, Jay, is that he's magically created by the bad guy to like distract her or bring an emotional reaction out of her. And the thing is that's going to be really good. Like if that's the case, that's going to be really good because Wonder Woman is at her best when she's emotional.
Right.
When she feels justice. Like Wonder Woman is not driven by ego, the DC men. She's driven by injustice. And it is a very woman thing, especially when it was written back in like, you know, the 40s. It was very typical of like women are emotional creatures, and we are sometimes, but not as much as they thought.
So some of us guys are.
Too. Yeah, some guys are emotional too. I like, yeah.
Like this one.
So other than geeky movies, like superhero movies and stuff, like, have you seen any movies in the last like year or two that you really love? It doesn't have to be a geeky movie. It just might be something that you love that you think that everybody should probably go watch.
Boy, I don't get to go see as many movies as I used to. There's several things that I really want to see. Like 1917, I really wanted to see. There's a lot of stuff like that. I just, unfortunately, with where life is, I don't get to go out as much to see movies. So I usually wait for them to come to streaming or something like that for me. Oh, we've got a comment here. Here we go. Knives Out. I've heard that about Knives Out. I really would like to have seen Knives Out.
It's really good, Professor. I actually really liked it. I was afraid it was going to be. How did I put it? I was afraid it was going to be too Clue-like. I love Clue.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I feel like movies tried to be Clue-like, but it wasn't. It was on its own. It was really good. I live with someone who is notorious. This is watching a movie with this man is infuriating. Like, seriously, because 5 minutes in, he will know who did it, why they did it, when they did it, how they did it. And so we have this thing now where he can't tell me.
I'm the same way. Right. I figure that stuff out right away. So it's part of my personality that I have to figure it out.
Yeah, I do too, but I don't tell people.
And no, so I don't either.
We have now this system where he writes it down so he can see if he's right. So when we watched Knives Out, he wrote down like what he thought happened in the first 5 minutes. We didn't even get all the characters introduced. Like, you saw them, but you didn't get to talk to them or anything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was right. It's terrible. I did really like Knives Out. I've seen it twice now. We waited till it got on Redbox just because, you know, we were both working at the time.
Right.
It's so sad that movies are starting right now. I'd be there all the time. I love history. The Joker was good. Did you see Joker?
I haven't. I don't know what's going on because these are the kind of movies I should be seeing, and I don't know. I'm busy writing articles.
Joker was really good. I had people who were like, it was terrible because it's not a Batman movie. It wasn't supposed to be like a Batman in the DC universe. It was, but it wasn't. You know, It wasn't a DC. I really liked it. I think Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job. And I love history. So another one that I saw was Little Women.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. And I was afraid I wasn't going to because I'm an old movie buff, and they've redone Little Women like 4 times.
Yes, they have.
Katharine Hepburn played Jo. June Allison played Jo. Winona Ryder played Jo. And then this girl, I always forget her name. And if you guys know her name, please tell me. She was the girl from Lady Bird. But I actually really enjoyed it. I still think June Allison's my favorite. The June Allison one from that. But I really like this. And if you like that independent film kind of thing that my son does, the art house movies and everything, it's really good. So if you like history or you like those classic movies, that's really good. Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man. I haven't seen Rocket Man. Shelly, I haven't seen Rocket Man.
So confession, Queen is on my top 5 bands of all times, but I've not seen Bohemian Rhapsody.
What? Queen is my number 1 band.
Well, I know it is.
Bohemian Rhapsody was really good. They messed with the timeline just because it's a movie. But yeah.
I think that's probably about Little Women.
Yes. Little Women was totally worth it. We went to see it. My son loves Timothy Chalamet. Like, we've seen everything he's been in since Call Me By Your Name, and then we went back and watched all his old movies. I think he's one of the actors that we should be looking for in the future, and he is in this as Teddy or Lori, depending on who's talking. And I really, really enjoyed it. So Jay, yeah, I would definitely go watch it or rent it or whatever, however you can get it right now. But yeah, it was worth it. Like I said, I still think June Allison's my favorite Jo of all time, but Timothy, I think, is my favorite Lori of all time. So
there you go.
Watch those in Velvet Underground on the same day. Huh. I will definitely do that. Jay, I love this interaction.
I know, isn't this awesome? Thank you guys for interacting with us. We are, we've been trying to keep these under 30 minutes, and we are nearing an hour. So we're at 52 minutes. So, but this has been great. And I actually love old movies also, like Casablanca. So I was trying to introduce my kids to Humphrey Bogart. He was on some movie on the Independent Movie Channel the other day, and I'm like, this is Humphrey Bogart. You have to know who he is. He is one of the classic actors of all times. You have to know who he is. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Barefoot in the Park. All those movies are movies that I just adore. So I love older movies and really get into that also. So
some of my favorite older movies are, I love the Thin Man series.
Oh yeah.
I love Myrna Loy. Like, that woman had comic chops like nobody else. And she's underrated. I love oh my gosh, there's so many. I love old movies. So maybe we can write a list of old movies. Cary Grant was one of Jay's favorite. I love Cary Grant. Rock Hudson is actually above Cary Grant on my favorites list because that man, dang, he was dreamy. He was so dreamy. I love Rock Hudson. I do. And there's just so many. Maybe that's my next list. Maybe
that would be a great list.
I think I'd have to do it by decade though.
Because it would be really hard just to say anything before 1970. Oh, good Lord. That would be hard.
That would be hard. So I might do like my top 10 of the 40s, my top 10 of the 50s, my top 10 of something like that. Would you guys be interested in knowing my tops? The Hepburns. Yeah. Katharine Hepburn, loved her and her moxie. Adam's Rib is one of my favorite with her in it. And let's see. Audrey, I love Sabrina. Sabrina is my favorite Audrey Hepburn movie. An awesome one,
I agree. Breakfast at Tiffany's, I really love. Katharine Hepburn, I really love her a little older with Bogey and African Queen. They're amazing in that. So
yeah, that Give and Take was wonderful. Stage Door. Oh, I love that movie. Yeah. Professor, we've got to do some older movies.
I think you're right.
Decade.
So,
okay, Jay, I'm going to do it.
What would be really fun would be to do serials.
Oh my gosh, he just wants me writing all the time.
Well, yeah, duh. Before we leave, wanted to talk just real briefly, give a little shout out and a little tribute. One of our friends, Kevin Watkins, passed away over the weekend. He's a writer here in Springfield, Missouri, and just wanted to say we're going to miss you, buddy. We're praying for your family, thinking about your family, and we're very sad that you're no longer with us, because you were a bright spot in Springfield.
Yeah, cons. Like I remember meeting him at cons, and he was just always. I didn't get to know him outside of cons, but he was always just like, so you need to write and you need to do art, and very supportive.
He was amazing that way. I would interview him for things that he was doing, and he always kind of tried to turn it around on me. What are you doing? And I'm like, dude, I'm interviewing you. Come on now. Let's talk about what cool project you're doing. And he's like, how's the book you're working on? No, it's coming very slow. But so Kevin was really awesome. And he always had a bright smile on his face. He was a guy, he saw you coming, and you would always leave happier than when you came.
Yes. And so we're all going to miss him in the area. Anybody who knew him, I have never seen anybody like have anything bad to say about him at all.
Me either.
I know people who are way closer to him, and my heart goes out to them just because, you know, they were so close, and it's always hard when you lose someone. And I just can't imagine a con without him there.
It's going to be difficult.
It is.
Thank you for joining us, Jay. And we're here every Tuesday night at 6:30 Central Time. So please come in and talk with us. This actually has made it a lot even better. A lot.
I agree.
Boy, that's horrible grammar from a writer. Duh. But you've made it. You and Shelly have made it really awesome to be able to react with you guys, and that's been wonderful.
Yeah, I get really nervous. Professor can testify to this. I get really, really nervous. Just because I don't like to talk in front of people very much, but having people ask questions calms me down a little bit. So I appreciate you guys watching and interacting, and hopefully next time you guys join us, and maybe we get some more people to join us.
That'd be awesome.
Because next week's going to be fun. Before we go, we also need to talk a little bit about some of our friends who are doing some really cool things too. We have Keith and Gary.
Hold on, let me change. You're getting out of order here. Change it up on me. There we go.
Pop Culture Minefield on YouTube. They're not always kid friendly, but they're always funny. So
they're hysterical.
They're so fun.
And they know a lot of famous people. They always have somebody on there. You're like, how in the world are you guys connected to this guy who's a famous artist or a famous writer or has, made movies of some sort? You're like, good grief, you guys are really well connected.
Yeah, Professor just has me.
And I am grateful because I love you, Ace. You're awesome. So.
Also, we have. So we're gonna do the Nerd Informants next. We
have
Josh and Tim over at the Nerd Informants on Facebook. They're local and they're a lot of fun. They do a lot of interviews as well, and lots of reviews of movies when they come out. I think they're probably going to do some reviews of video games and stuff since they're home. But they're amazing, really fun guys. And then we have our third friend, and that would be the Scallywag himself over at Scallywag Productions on YouTube. Shboo brings you all kinds of videos that are entertainment, funny, weird, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. Like, I live with never know what's going to come out of that man's mouth.
Well, and he's doing Daddy-Daughter Week.
They're doing Daddy-Daughter Week. We have his daughter here, and he's doing some videos on like what they're doing and fun things you can do with your kids on quarantine and all that stuff. So go check them out, and be sure to always go give us a like and check us out over at GeekyKOOL.com, where you guys can get all kinds of articles. We do top 10 lists. It's not just me and the professor. We have a bunch of contributing writers who will write articles. We have people who do games and books and all kinds of things. So check us out. And Shelly says she usually has belly dancing practice on Tuesday nights, but hopefully you can at least watch us afterwards.
Right. We do have this on YouTube, and it will be posted all over Facebook with our Facebook posts, GeekyKOOL. If you aren't a fan of the GeekyKOOL Facebook site, we're almost at 500 people. Earlier, I noticed we were at 498. 2 more likes and we hit 500. We'll have to have a party of some sort next week if we can hit 500.
You guys, that was my goal when he asked me to be a contributor. Was my goal, and I told him this, was to get us to 500 likes. So
see, there we go.
Haven't liked it yet, go give it a like. And if you know somebody who might like us and check us out and stuff like that, suggest it to them, and maybe they'll give us a like. Maybe we'll hit 500 before next week.
That would be awesome. I'm hoping by the end of the night. So, we'll see. Ooh, that would be awesome. So, we also have Twitter, and we have, along with Twitter, we don't have an Instagram account because I don't take a lot of pictures of things other than stuff at cons. But we do have, what's the other one I've got? I don't know. But I need to probably get a manager for social media. I'm too old to handle it all. There we go. I see you hand waving.
Yeah. So check us out. Check out all our friends and stuff. And if you guys know anybody who's doing some cool things like this, who you think that we should check out, let us know that too. We love supporting and, getting shout outs to people and stuff like that. Or if you're doing something, let us know too. So.
And we're happy to bring somebody else in here with us to talk. So if you would like to be on the show with us and talk about something, let us know, because we will be glad to include you. Jump on in here with us. I'll send you an invite, and we can do a 3-way split screen. It'll be a lot of fun.
I agree. Okay, Professor, until next Tuesday.
All right.
Yeah, you be safe.
All right, you too. Stay geeky.
Bye, guys.
Bye.